Monday nights, come back on and join me live this Monday. What's today, like the 18th or something? I was planning on going live at 9 p.m. I figured I'd start a few minutes earlier. I'm hoping Megan Colbeth comes on. There's someone that I ran into that's actually going to be deer hunting in close by the same area where I'm going to be hunting for my trophy buck this year. This Megan, she's got some trail cam pics she shared with me. I've shared mine with her, and there's a target buck that she's really hoping to get, set her sights on, and hoping to get. And I'm hoping to get Curly. I've got Curly sheds from the last couple years. Look at me here going on a tangent about deer hunting, and this live stream is supposed to be all about black bears and black bear hunting and such. As the title states, what if bears could talk? Now, I want to open up the black bear hunting, black bear in general, everything to do with black bear conversation first by saying and stating, did you know that an adult black bear, especially a boar, a male black bear, can travel anywhere upwards of 20 to 40 miles, 20 to 40 square miles in one day? That's a lot of traveling. Your boars, your male black bear, did you know this, that the male black bears are more of a wanderer than the females? The females' home ranges are only anywhere from like 20 to 50 square miles, whereas a male black bear's home range can be very extensive, anywhere from just as little as 150 square miles to as large as 300 square miles. And obviously home ranges of the black bears are overlapping, because in the state of Maine, we have like a black bear density of somewhere right around like 1 bear per square mile, maybe 1.5 bears per square mile. In some parts of the state, less than a bear per square mile, 0.45 bears per square mile. So, and it varies depending on where you are in the state of Maine. And the bears population, bears home ranges are going to overlap, obviously. So the males, though, they need to have a large home range. They need to be wanderers to ensure that they're going to eventually find a suitable mate, find a sow to mate with during mating season. Their mating season's pretty long. Black bear's mating season is anywhere from like end of May all the way into like the beginning of August. So May, June, July, August, it's like 4-month long time span where the black bears have a chance to mate, to come together, copulate. And the sows, they're typically only able to breed and come and mate with a male every couple years, especially if they're an adult. Typically, a female won't be sexually mature until she's at least 3 years old. And the biologists like Sarah Lida and other biologists, they'll tell you, though, that in areas where the black bear density is down, where the population isn't very large, that the younger sows can, in that case, younger sows may be able to breed. That they might be able to breed at 2 years old instead of the 3-year-old mark where they typically do, the sows. The older mature sows, the older they are, the better for the cubs. They can teach the cubs how to be bears. They're going to teach the cubs valuable life lessons so they can go on to survive, to live into adulthood, to become mature bears. And so your wandering boars, their home ranges are so large and they're overlapping with other boars and sows, and it just ensures it's nature's way and the way it is, so the boar can find a mate, find a sow to mate with. And their populations are very highly dependent on a fairly large quantity of sows. If there aren't a lot of sows in a bear population, the population could be at threat. And then biologists and departments of Inland Fish and Wildlife stuff would have to be studying and watching the population closely, because hunting may have to be pulled altogether if there aren't enough sows to allow recruitment of more bears. Then the population could be a threat. So it's very important as us hunters, bear hunters, to be selective when out hunting, to be ethical hunters and be looking for those mature boars, and hopefully harvest and kill a male bear instead of a sow. And typically, though, your male bears are going to be the larger, more trophy size type bears anyways, because you could have a 10 to 15, 20-year-old sow that only weighs like 100 pounds live weight. And that sow could still go on and give birth to 3 or 4 cubs, by the way. And I've witnessed this back in college when I went out to bear dens with biologists, with the state of Maine biologists like Randy Cross and other biologists. They tranquilized a sow to study her, to weigh her, take some bone marrow samples from her, blood samples and such. They were shocked to find that all 4 cubs were still alive when they went to this bear den, with this 100-pound, this full-grown, mature sow, only weighed barely 100 pounds live weight, and she had 4 cubs. I thought that to be pretty interesting, that adult bear only weighed that much. Because it's a lot of people, like uneducated people, just automatically assume that all bears, whether it's grizzly bear, polar bear, black bear, that they're extremely large, big, scary, monstrous animals that weigh hundreds of pounds and upwards of 1,000 pounds. That's just not so. Let's see who came on. We've got Hamberlin Zachary. Say, hey, Hamberlin. Justin Lynch says hi. Justin Lynch, I think, has been on here before. Okay, it just turned 9 p.m., everybody. Justin and Hamberlin. So, like, about the time I went live last Monday, so I expect the guy from Saskatchewan to come on here, the guys from out west and western Maine. There's been a select few faithful followers that have been coming on, joining me live the last several Mondays. And so I want you to, Justin and Hamberlin, if you're still with me, if you bear hunt yourselves, maybe you're going on a baited bear hunt, a hunt with hounds, or a spot and stalk hunt, or if you just hunt bear in general, please leave in the comments. Please type away. Share some of your tips and secrets that you may have learned along the way. Maybe you learned some really cool things from bear hunting guides, from outfitters, on the guided bear hunt you've been on, that you'd like to share with everyone that comes on here live. Please just type away. Yeah, ask your questions and such. And so as the title states, I was going on a major tangent here, and there's no editing here. This is in the raw. This is me live in the raw, no editing. I'm going to be more personal, relatable with you, because obviously humans are poor speakers, listeners, and such, and unorganized in general, especially me. I can be just a rambler, and I was going on a tangent there about black bear populations and such, and versus boar versus sow home ranges and such and so on. Before I was checking to see who was chiming in here, joining me here on this live stream tonight. I was talking about the bear den I went to with the Maine biologist Randy Cross and other biologists back when I was in college, and that was a really cool experience. So, yeah. So if bear could talk, so like I stated earlier in the beginning of this live stream, a mature, full-grown bear could travel upwards of 20 to 40 square miles in one daytime, a 24-hour time span throughout their home range. And a boar's home range, like I said earlier, is anywhere from 150 square miles to as much as 300 square miles. And a sow's home range will be anywhere from 20 to 50 square miles. So a sow actually could pretty much wander her whole home range, probably in one day, in one 24-hour time span. But your boars, they're wanderers. They're going here and there and everywhere. And so let's say me and you we're setting up our bait sites for a baited bear hunt in the state of Maine. And we've got our baits, and we feel like we have our bait sites set in a pretty good area. An area that's got a lot of black bear around. There's been a lot of bear sightings, some nuisance black bear calls to the wardens and such. And there's been some maybe a few car and bear collisions and stuff in the last few years in this area, and that just the numbers are high for black bear population where me and you are setting up our baits. And but you got to picture here for a moment a wandering black bear wandering around 20 square miles, 40 square miles in a 24-hour time span. You got to think what's going through their mind. What when they stumble upon a barrel, a big 55-gallon drum full of donuts that's set, and all of a sudden there's all this strange scent and odor. And what do you think's going through that bear's mind when they stumble upon that out in the middle of the untamed mountainous wilderness, in an area where there's hardly any human disturbance? And obviously, those are the type of areas where you're going to find black bears. The black bears prefer to establish their home ranges as far from human disturbance as possible. But it's no fault to their own if they're forced to cohabitate with humans. If the bear populations, if any population of any animal, of any critter, deer, moose, coyote, bear, bobcat, fox, you name it, pronghorn, elk, if any population of any critter out there exceeds threshold and the population keeps growing and climbing, they're going to encroach upon human establishments. And that's the only time, it's in those instances when the populations are way above carrying capacity threshold. And in this case, I'm talking about black bears. If their populations, wherever it is you live, if you live in bear country, a state that harbors, holds black bears, some people have come on here, joined me live, are from areas with a lot of black bear. So I'm going to pause right here just for a second. See Oak Ridge Taxidermist said, "How are you doing today, brother?" "Oh, I'm good." So Oak Ridge Taxidermist, I think he's been on here before with me. Thanks for joining back here, Oak Ridge Taxidermist. Perfect Cell, DBZ, Dragon Bell. "Do you hunt deer?" "Yes, I do, Perfect Cell." Thanks for joining, Perfect Cell. I was just mentioning right in the very beginning, Perfect Cell, of this live stream before, because I was planning on going live at 9 p.m. I kind of went off on a tangent about deer. I was mentioning that this girl that I met, her and her husband, they got permission to use a dirt road through my deer hunting area as access to get to land that they have permission to hunt. And they used to use a different access because this girl, Megan, she's hunted this terrain for many years, and she used to use a different road, but she got permission from the same people that I have permission to hunt from. As far as that, well, anyways, she got permission to use. I'm getting tongue-tied here, but yeah. So this girl Megan, she's actually accessing my deer hunting area, and she may be after some of the same trophy bucks that I'm after. So Perfect Cell, yeah. This Megan, her and I, we've been sharing pics of bucks we've gotten to. We've actually verified, we've concluded that we aren't chasing the same trophy buck. Where she's hunting is a buck that she's after that doesn't match the buck that I'm after, Curly. I've got the sheds from the buck I'm after from the last 2 years in a row, and I've got noontime pics and videos from my cell camera of him going into his bedding area, and I've got some earlier spring pics of him. He's still alive, doing well. So that answered Perfect Cell's question. Let's see, Ken Maurer says, "How's it going?" It's going great, Ken. Thanks for joining us. So Ken, we've got Oak Ridge Taxidermist on here, Perfect Cell, Justin, Hamber, all of you guys. Thanks for joining me. That shortly here, there should be a few others that have been joining me live the last several Mondays. I go live every Monday night, and right now it's bear pre-baiting for black bear. The bear hunting season here in Maine's come. The bear hunting season, the fall, the spring bear hunting seasons have passed, but now we're coming up on the black bear fall hunting season and such. So that's why all my live streams currently are all about black bears, black bear hunting, black bear tips, secrets, recipes for black bear, cooking black bear meat and such. And I'm talking about right now I'm sharing an example. What if bear could talk? I just ended stating that me and you, we're pretending now that me and you, we're buddies, we're best pals. We just set up our bait sites, our 55-gallon drum full of donuts, sprayed some attractant scent in the trees and leaves above. And this wandering boar, male black bear, sauntering around, wandering around his home range. And I mentioned earlier in this live stream that they can travel anywhere from 20 to 40 square miles in 24-hour time span, just wandering around their home range, eating. An adult mature bear can consume 20 to or more pounds of food a day. That's an obscene amount of food. That's like almost 30,000 calories a day, and makes them a very thirsty animal too. So we knowing this, we were smart to set our bait near a natural water source, not far from a river. It might be less than a mile through the woods, and there's some other trickling streams and brooks, bubbling brooks, coming to and from that river, and there might be some vernal pools with still standing water, and the lower elevations around our bait site have some water. So it's good to have water nearby your bait site. So this bear wandering around catches scent, catches the wind of our bait site, and what do you think is going through that bear's mind as he comes in, checks out that barrel, 55-gallon plastic drum full of donuts and food that he's never seen before or smelt before? You've got to think here. Imagine. I mean, they survive for a living. What they do for a living is survive. So there's the same thing with deer, moose, all the wild animals that we pursue as hunters, that we hunt. What they all do for a living, obviously we work for money. They don't. What they do for a living is survive, and that's what they're best at, is surviving. And Randy Cross, the state of Maine black bear biologist, he's retired now. He's studied these critters for like over 30 years of his life, and I learned from him. And I mentioned earlier in my live stream, if you're just joining us now, Daniel Boyce, thanks for coming on. He says, how bad do the ticks mess with them? Oh, okay. So Ken, sorry, he meant spring bear. Oh, Ken Moore says, how does the sit-in best hunt work? I live in Maine and I don't know how you go about doing it. How does the sitting best hunt work? Oh, Ken, can you expound on that question a little bit while I'm answering Daniel Boyce's question? Daniel asks, how bad do the ticks mess with them, with the bear? Now, Daniel, I got Oak Ridge taxidermist on here. He knows that I'm learning taxidermy. I've been practicing taxidermy for the last 3 years, and I've got a couple. This bear mount right here, the shoulder mount, this black bear right here, is the very first shoulder mount that I ever did myself. I mounted this one right here. This is a New Brunswick bear I shot with my bow right here over my right shoulder, and I did find ticks on it. I don't find a lot of ticks, Daniel, on the bear. Not as many clearly as on deer and moose. I've mounted a moose already. I've mounted a bunch of deer, and I've mounted a few bear now, and practiced in taxidermy the last 3 years. And I have found ticks on the bear hides. I do my own tanning too. I cape them, rough flesh them, tan them, and I do not find a ton of ticks on the black bear. But I was actually shocked to find a couple, on the capes, the bear capes I currently have in the freezer downstairs from bear I've shot the last couple of years. I've got to mount them up. Can't wait to get those mounts done. So yeah, there are some ticks on them, but obviously the deer, and moose and stuff, they get the brunt of the tick population, that's for sure. So it says, great, Daniel Boyce says, great job. Thanks, Daniel. Ken Mower. Yeah, I meant, how does the spring bear hunt work in Maine? I've lived here my whole life and haven't been able to find out how you go spring bear hunting. There is spring bear hunting in Maine, and it's on Native American, like Indian-owned land. And certain bear guides, bear outfitters, black bear guides, lease land or pay the Native Americans, Indians, to put bait sites out on their land, and for the spring bear hunts in Maine. So you have to go about the spring bear hunt in Maine. You've pretty much got to hook up with one of these outfitters or guides that know about establishing a spring bear hunt. So yeah, just Google it. Look, just Google spring bear hunting in Maine, outfitters that offer spring bear hunting in Maine. You can. I've never bothered to go on a spring bear hunt in Maine, but I did a spring bear hunt in New Brunswick, Canada. That's how I got this bear over my right shoulder with my bow. And but here in Maine, we can, if you're a Maine resident, you can go about hunting black bear every year round. Oh, that would be cool. But no, you go about hunting black bear every year. You can self-guide yourself. Myself, and I set up my own bait sites. I scout for black bear. I stumble upon black bear all the time. I see them while at work spraying blueberry fields and stuff. I'm a blueberry farmer, so I'll see black bears occasionally when out on the big John Deere 100-foot boom sprayers spraying blueberry fields and such. So anyways, so I was answering some questions here and seeing who was joining us, and kind of lost track of what I was saying earlier. I was talking about what if bear could talk. So I was asking you, all of you that have joined me live, what do you suppose is going through a mature big boar when he's stumbling upon your artificial like bait food, your bait site full of cookies and donuts and such? And I was getting ready to state that the Maine black bear biologist, Randy Cross, he stated when I was in his presence back in college and stuff, that the black bears, they undergo lots of anxiety and stress when near humans, near human presence, human disturbance. And also, I don't know if you knew this, here's another cool, interesting fact about black bears. How you can tell if a black bear is feeling anxiety, kind of anxious, or their heart rate's up and they're kind of tense and they're nervous, is when they sit and yawn and roll out that big long, they have massive long tongues, and they'll yawn, and that's a sign of that bear going through anxiety. And you've got to figure, if you spotted this, you saw a bear doing this, then that bear knows you're there. That bear's near humans, near human disturbance. So their anxiety is up, but there's reasons why the black bears will put themselves in that situation, that predicament. And that's because of food. They're extremely, extremely hungry animals. They need 20 or more pounds of food a day, 30,000 calories a day, leading into the winter months, the harsh winter months, the denning season. And so, yeah, you can imagine the bear finding out mine and yours bait site, that his anxiety's up, his heart rate's going, he's coming in tense and nervous and kind of pussyfooting. He's coming in very cautiously. His head's on a swivel. He's looking everywhere. He's smelling the air. His ears are on a swivel. He's listening intently, trying to figure out what the heck this is. Why does it smell so good? He's thinking, right? What if bear could talk? He's telling himself. He's probably talking to himself, saying, "Man, I want a bite of that. That just smells delicious. But what the heck is it?" So, anyways, Ken went on. He's going on to say, "Yeah, I meant how does the spring bear hunt work?" So Ken also says you must live in the county if you work in the blueberry fields. I use donuts for bear bait and a hickory bacon flavor spray. Spray on the way into the woods and out as I also spray my boots down. Yeah, no, those are all, that's baiting tactics that work great, Ken. I do a similar thing with spray. I'll spray the left and right sides of my path, my baiting path that I use to go to and from the bait site for extra attracting to help also to hide any of my human odor if I happen to brush against some vegetation that I didn't mean to. Ken, do you stick to a baiting pattern? I don't know if you knew this, but to be consistently successful in baiting black bears, you've got to have a baiting pattern, a baiting regimen that you kind of stick to, that you don't hinder from in any way, shape, or form. Because these black bears, as I was just talking about, their anxiety can be very high. When they know they're near human presence or human disturbance, their anxiety is through the roof. Their heart rate's obviously up. They're yawning a lot. They're nervous, tense. So, good night, honey.
Good night.
So my wife just disturbed me while heading into bed. It is almost my, oh no, it's only 9:19. I can go for a while. So Ken, I asked you if, oh wait, I want to answer your question too, Ken, first. Yes, I do. You're right. I live in the county, like Washington County, Maine, yeah. Our bear density is pretty high in this part of the state of Maine. Washington County, Maine, northwestern portion of the state of Maine, northern Maine, the mountainous, very thick, dense, vast wildernessy areas, parts of Maine, obviously harbor a fair amount of black bears in the state of Maine. The state of Maine has a pretty good black bear population. It's actually, the state of Maine's black bear population is the largest bear population in the northeastern part of the United States. Now let me ask all of you this. I'm going to ask all of you a question if you're still with me. Daniel, Ken, and Oak Ridge taxidermist and all that. If all of you guys are all still with me, let me ask you this, and no cheating. Don't Google this. I don't want you using your phones and Googling this, but this is kind of common knowledge that we would have learnt probably in like grade school. What state of the 50 states in the United States, what state has the largest black bear population? Answer that. Okay, shoot. Anyone? Which state has the largest black bear population? It's an easy answer. Like I said, this is like something we all would have learnt in school. Assuming that we're all adults here. All of you that are adults. Back when we were in school, we probably... And also, let me go further to say, ask all of you. Oh, let's see, he said, Ken goes with Montana. That's a good guess. Montana is actually one of the... And that actually, you saying Montana, Ken, brought up something I wanted to talk about too briefly before I end this live stream. But no, it actually, believe it or not, Ken, it's not Montana. What's your second guess? Montana does have a good... They're one of the top states in the United States to go to hunt black bear because they do have a large black bear population. But Maine also, the state of Maine has a large black bear population for the size of the state that we are. You know, there's upwards of one or more bears per square mile in the state of Maine. Let's see, anyone else want to answer that? What state, which of the 50 states has the largest black bear population? Daniel's saying. We have some in the middle coast friendship area. Mid-coast area. I think no one else is, maybe some, see, we've got 17 currently on. I've got 17 people watching. So all of you, one of you, 17 people right now with me live. What? Oh, Daniel, yes. Daniel got it. Daniel Boyce, I should send you one of my books. Wild Man Outdoors in the sit spot, Discovering the Forest in You. I should send you one of my books for free. You can PM me, personal message me through Facebook, Daniel, and I'll send you one of my books, my autographed books. In the descriptions below, all of my YouTube videos, mainstream videos, shorts, you can see, you can click on the PayPal link to order any one of my books. But so for answering that correctly, Daniel, I'd be more than obliged, happy to send you one of my books. So Alaska, yes, Alaska has the largest black bear population in all the 50 states, and it's, I don't know, I read this a while ago, close to 100,000 black bears. I want to say, wait, 100,000, because I think, yeah, because Maine, the state of Maine's black bear population is well under 100,000 animals. Because, like I said, there's only like one bear per square mile on average. And I mean, those of us that hunt black bear in the state of Maine, where we don't all get a bear, we don't all fill that bear tag. There might be like 15 to 20,000 people, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 bear, maybe possibly taken, shot in the state of Maine, out of like 35, 40,000 black bears that are probably roaming around the state of Maine. So Alaska has 100,000 or more black bears living in that state. So now that Daniel already answered the question. You guys can all cheat now. You can Google it, and you can to compare to what I said versus what Google states about the bear populations. Let's see. Ken says, my second guess is Virginia. Yeah, Ken, Daniel Boyce answered it correctly. He was the quick to the gun, and I'd like to send Daniel one of my books for that. But I should probably do that, make that a thing when I go live. I've been going live every Monday now for the last 4 or 5 Mondays. I plan on trying to go live every Monday night. Right now, it's all about black bear that we're talking about here. It's all going to be about black bear hunting and current events surrounding black bear and such. So, okay, so Ken, he guessed Montana as far as which state with the largest black bear population, and that when he said that, that made me think of the Western Bear Foundation. Which of you folks that are still with me live have ever heard of the Western Black Bear Foundation or the American Bear Foundation? But the Western Bear Foundation is a foundation. It's a nonprofit foundation where they can obviously raise money and get monies and funds and obviously get grants and such and stuff, government grants and other monies and through other outlets to support bear conservation and the ongoing bear hunting and help to support bear research and studies around that and just anything to do with black bear. And the Western Bear Foundation focuses on Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, those states right around the Montana area. That's the Western Bear Foundation was founded out that way and was established and used for those states. And that's because those states I believe took away the ability to hunt and pursue black bear with dogs, the ability to trap black bear. I don't know. I think there's still some baiting, the ability to bait black bear in those states, but that's why the Western Bear Foundation was founded to help educate the public and to do a thorough research and to prove a point that the bear population needs to be managed in a way of hunting, that their carrying capacity is getting way above threshold. A carrying capacity it states the definition of it is that wilderness, the mountains, forest, or the environment, habitat that the black bear live in can only hold and support so many of those animals. Likewise, us humans have certain carrying capacity. We can overpopulate a country, overpopulate the world. And if we get above threshold, the bear can do the same in their neck of the woods where they live, in their habitat. They can get above threshold. And so these American Bear Foundation, the Western Bear Foundations, the whole purpose of them is to raise money for the conservation and hunting and conserving the hunting of bear and such and so forth, and to educate the public and to get the funding and the monies to continue on biological research and studies and such and so forth. So we can all be educated in the right way. And hunting is a very important tool, and these bear foundations, they're all about that. They're pro hunting. And so we need hunting as a very important wildlife conservation tool to help manage the populations of all these critters that we hunt and pursue, so they don't get above threshold and cause all kinds of issues, problems. There's a huge list of problems that can arise if any population exceeds threshold. So let's see. We've got Bayo on here. Said hi. Hey, Bayo Lee, guys. He's been with me live the last couple Mondays too. So Bayo Lee, we've got Ken on here and Daniel and let's see who else. I don't know if Oak Ridge Taxidermist is still here. Justin Lynch, I don't know if you're still on. It says currently right now it's showing. I did have 17 people with me. We're down to 5. So I could probably cut this live stream short, really. Now I don't need to go an hour like I did last Monday when I went live. I went over an hour and I had a lot of people chime in here talking about bear. black bears and bear hunting tips and stuff that they learned along the way. And all of my followers and viewers that are with me live, they were sharing some really cool tips, bear hunting tips that with everybody. And yeah, I haven't seen Jason on here. Jason and is it Jamie? There's a guy from a guide from Saskatchewan. He was with me for like 2 Mondays in a row. And he was a big help answering people's questions and sharing some cool tips. He's a bear guide. He's probably he may actually be, let's see, if he's guiding in Saskatchewan, the hunt may be already underway, the fall bear hunt out that way. So he could be entertaining some clients of his. That might be why he's not with me live tonight. But let's see. Oh yeah, people are dropping off like flies. Yeah. So anyway, so everybody, if I answered your questions correctly, if I helped you in any way, and you've learned at least one thing here on this live stream that I've done my job correctly, if you could smash that like button for me before you go, I'd greatly appreciate it. And definitely subscribe to Spikes and Gills. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified of all future uploads by Spikes and Gills. I greatly appreciate the extra support and follow everybody. And I have 2 books that I've authored: Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets, and The Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. You can go check those links out down in the description below. In the description below all my videos, there's the PayPal link you can click on to order any one of my 2 books. And obviously I have merch. You can go click on the shopping icon to order t-shirts and long sleeve tees and short sleeve tees and hoodies. And I think I have a beanie, I have a winter hat available too on that in there through the shopping icon. See, Ken says, will you ever shoot a bear with a bow? So Ken, that's a great question. In the last previous live streams and several episodes I've uploaded on my channel, Spikes and Gills, I've mentioned in previous videos that I've shot in all my black bear with a bow and arrow, except the last 2. The last 2 bear that I've shot, and the bear I shot last year, I shot with a 12 gauge shotgun with a slug, and then 2 years ago I shot a bear with my 270 rifle. Those were the first 2 bear I ever shot with firearms. But 8 or 9 bear prior to that were all with a bow and arrow. I've gotten like 10, 11, 12, some close to like a dozen. I've shot in like close to a dozen black bears in my lifetime. They've all been with a bow and arrow, except the last couple. I've always wanted to shoot a bear with my very first firearm, my first gun. It was a pump action shotgun with interchangeable barrel with a ribbed 28-inch long bird barrel and a open sight slug barrel, smoothbore slug barrel. I've always wanted to shoot a bear with that slug barrel with that first gun of mine that I got way back when I was like 15 or 16 years old. And I did. I did just that. I shot a big one with that shotgun with a slug. He field dressed right around 240 something, 240 dressed weight. So live weight, he was pushing probably close to 280, almost a 300-pound live animal came into my bait site. That's a big animal. And so Jason Gibson finally came on. Hey, buddy. Anybody try hunting bears using predator calls? So Ken, Bailey, Daniel, everybody else. Jason's back, everybody. Thanks for coming on, Jason. Let's see. Currently, there's still only 4 people with me live. I did have as many as 17, Jason. 17 to 20 people on here live earlier. But thanks for joining me, Jason. Because I was just getting ready to say goodnight. But, so Jason asked, anybody try hunting bears using predator calls? Oh, like, yeah, I have, Jason, actually. I went up to the Blueberry Barrens in Washington County, Maine, Jason, and used, it was actually a bear call. This product I used, this call, was specifically for calling in bear. It's a predator type call. And actually it was, Jason, the call sounds like crying distressed cubs. It's supposed to sound like cubs. Because obviously, like boars, your big mature boars, it's not uncommon for them to kill cubs, kill and eat cubs and stuff, such. And that's why sows, they have smaller, knit kind of close smaller home ranges, and they know those home ranges very well, and they like to stay in the sows. They like to establish their homes away from a lot of boar disturbance, a lot of human disturbance whatsoever. But yeah, so a cub type call I have. I've tried it. I used it without success. But I do know some people do call in black bears with using predator calls. Blaine Anthony, the bear whisperer, he's gone on some Alaska hunts. And if you watch the Bear Whisperer TV show on like the Outdoors channel and the Pursuit channel and such stuff like that, Blaine Anthony, he's put some hunts out there that he's aired some hunts on TV where he's used predator calls to call him bear. And why I bring up Blaine Anthony is because I know him personally. Been to his home. I was a substitute cameraman for him for a couple weeks. That was actually when I shot this bear over my right shoulder in New Brunswick, Canada. His camera guy of 10 years quit on him, and he needed someone to film his sponsors, shoot their bear, and so forth, so on. He let me go on to hunt myself and get my own bear while out there in Canada with him being his substitute camera guy and stuff. So, yeah, so I know a lot about Blaine Anthony, the bear whisperer. I've got to learn a lot from him and hear some cool stories and stuff. So he's used predator calls in some of his hunts, like out in Alaska area and stuff. So Jason, since you just chimed in here, Ken's still with us, Jason, but Bailey might be. It wasn't Ken. Ken guessed though, but there was a guy, Daniel. This Daniel Boyce, he guessed right. He guessed Alaska when I asked which of the 50 states has the largest black bear population, and it's Alaska. So naturally, that would be a great state to go to utilize predator calls or calls in general to try to call in a black bear because the population's largest. So it increases the odds of you being successful at calling one in. And for the northeastern states, like New England, the state of Maine has the largest black bear population in the New England states, in the northeastern part of the United States. That's the United States though. Obviously, you can go into Canada, New Brunswick, Canada, where I got this bear, and have a larger bear population probably than in the state of Maine. But let's see. Anyways, what Ken say? He said I had a big bear come into a rabbit in distress call, way up north in the potato fields, but it was in the springtime, so it was hungry. Oh yeah. So Jason, did you see Ken's comment that he mentioned this? His calling success was in the spring. And that hunt in Alaska that Blaine Anthony was on when he was using protocols was a spring Alaska bear hunt. It was in the spring. So it makes sense that the black bears would be more apt to come rushing into your predator calls in the springtime when they're coming out of the dens extremely hungry. That makes sense. Jason Gibson said, no bear sign here yet, just coons and ravens and turkey vultures. Switching up, add some new goodies to Bateman. No bear yet, huh, Jason? That's too bad. I only have the one. I have the 2 bait sites for myself because I don't have any friends wanting to bear hunt this year, so I didn't have to set out any new baits for friends and stuff that want to come and hunt. And I have just the one bear. He's pretty consistent though, like if not every other night, every third night he'll come in. He's this one bear. He's a respectable size. I'm planning on taking him with my bow if it stands that's the only bear to come. My bait's right up until we can hunt, and I'd be more than happy to take him with my bow because it's a full grown bear. It's a shooter bear. It's not no cub or anything like this. He stands above the second line on the 55-gallon plastic drum I'm using for my bait site. He stands about to my top of my hip bone as far as height. Probably just a younger boar, probably. I I expect this bear to be at least 3 years old or older. It was anywhere from 3, 4, 5 and up, and maybe 180 plus pounds live weight or something like that. But a respectable, average size Maine black bear though. He'd be a great shooter bear, great bear to take with a bow. The meat would be really tender on him for sure. It'd be good eating. My son, he prefers bear steak over deer steak anyway because he says it's more tender and stuff. So Jason Gibson says, yes, I tried rabbit in distress and fall, and great horned owls for trying to call him bear. That I've always wanted to be successful at calling and calling in black bear. That's something I have wanted to try. I tried it years ago without any success, but there's some folks that don't do too bad. There are some folks in Maine that have had success at doing that, and you can conventionally hunt black bear using regular deer hunting tactics too. In the mountainous and in the wildernessy parts of the state of Maine where the bear density is up pretty high, you can go about looking for just fresh, still steaming bear scat and just evidence of bear feeding on something, a hot food source that's hot right then and there. Right, you'd want to set up shop and hunt and ambush that bear right then and there, and then you could be successful at shooting black bear in Maine without using bait and snares and dogs and such. See what he's going on to say. Largest bear I've seen got taken in Harmony was over 500 pounds. That's a big bear, Ken. That's massive. And another interesting fact about black bears. How I know this because I searched this myself because I was curious. And I found out that, did you know that I asked the question, how old is a 300-pound black bear? Or how old does a black bear have to be 200 pounds? Or how old is a 200-pound black bear? I might be wording that wrong, I'm tongue-tied. But for a black bear to be the weight of 200 pounds or more, typically speaking, that's at least a 3-year-old black bear or older. That's pretty interesting. Interesting note here. So this bear at my bait site, I'm guessing would be about 180, 200 pounds live weight, and so that's why I figure the bear to be at least minimally 3 years old. Could be older. It could be as old as 5 or 6 years old. But for a black bear be right around 200 pounds. That's a 3-year-old or older, a bear older than 3 years old. So that's interesting fact. See, we've got back in the saddle hunting. Hey, it's Meg. Oh, okay. So Meg joined. Awesome. So Megan's on here, everybody. Ken, Jason, Bailey. Here we've got Daniel Boyce. So Megan. So for those of you that just came on earlier in this live stream, I was mentioning that this girl Megan would come on live, and she's accessing through my deer hunting area to get to her area that she's deer hunting, and she's watched some of my YouTube videos and stuff. I'm grateful for her support for watching some videos. Her and her husband have watched several of my YouTube videos now. So Megan, what we were talking about was obviously not deer hunting, but I was introducing you to the group earlier, so thanks for coming on. We're talking about, see, Ken, he was just saying that a 500-pound black bear, this is the biggest bear he's ever seen. He saw it in Harmony, Maine. So we're talking black bear, and for a refresher, earlier in the live stream, before some of you come on here late, I was mentioning how black bear's home range is a south home range. It's anywhere from 20 to 35 square miles and upwards of no more than like 50 square miles for a female. Your boars' home ranges could be typically from 150 to 300 square miles, and obviously their home ranges are going to overlap. And the black bear density in the state of Maine might be like one or a little more bears per square mile, and so And also I was, as the title of the live stream states, what if bear could talk? What if they could? I shared an example earlier that let's say me and you, we're bestest of pals. We've been baiting black bears for years, and we know the perfect spot in the state of Maine to bait bear each and every year. And we've set our 55-gallon drum out with donuts, cookies. We sprayed our artificial attractant scents in the trees and on the tree trunks to attract the black bear. And now, and also I mentioned earlier, if you're just coming on here, that an adult, mature black bear can travel 20 to 40 square miles in a 24-hour time span. So this big mature boar traveling around 20 or 40 square miles, roaming through his home range, looking for food, available food. He happens to catch wind of our bait site. And he's like, who? The title states, what if bear could talk? So now at this point in time, this bear's talking to himself. He's saying to himself, oh man, that smells good. I want a bite of that. And he keeps inching closer. But he's coming in cautiously and nervous. His heart rate's up. He's tense. He's nervous. The state of Maine's black bear biologist, Randy Cross, having studied black bears for 30 plus years. He's now retired. I learned this from him when back in college, when going to a bear den with him and other biologist stuff to get samples of stuff from the bears in the bear den. I learned from Randy Cross, the Maine bear biologist, that black bears' anxiety gets very high. Their stress levels climb. They get wicked anxiety when near human disturbance, when sensing humans nearby, when smelling humans, and just knowing that whatever they're approaching, wherever they're going, whatever scene they're going into was manipulated by humans in any way, shape, or form, their anxiety is high. And I also learned from Randy Cross that how you could tell if you're observing and watching black bears, and clearly if you're able to see black bear, they 99.9% of the time they know you're there. And that's why they might sit and yawn, stretch that long tongue out. When they yawn, that's a sign of anxiety, that they're a sign of stress and anxiety. And I didn't know if you guys knew that, but that's a really cool, interesting fact. So the bear found our bait site, but they don't come rushing in there. They circle the area, get downwind, get smelling it out. Their head's on a swivel. They're looking everywhere. Their ears are on a swivel. They're listening to every sound. Their eyes are wide. They're studying that area very thoroughly. They're trying to piece the puzzle together to figure out what the heck's going on here. What is this stuff that smells so good that I want to eat really bad? And that's why it could take 3 or more days and upwards of a week to 2 weeks, and maybe even longer in some cases, for black bears to really commit to a bait site, because it's human disturbance. It's humans setting that there. And as I mentioned too earlier, all these animals, the black bear, your deer, your moose, your turkey, or all the animals we pursue that we hunt as hunters. We humans, we make a living on money for money. We're all about the money. They're all about the survival, man. They make a living on surviving, and they do it best. They do it better than we do. The whole problem, that's what they do for a living, is survive, man. So you can bet your buttons too. Also, this is a cool, interesting fact, and that I got this from a podcast. Clay Newcomb, he's one of my role models. I listen to all of his podcasts and read his articles and stuff and books. He's had guests on his podcast that are very, very well-known bear hunters, and they're successful at baiting black bear, and they've said, and I've heard, I didn't just hear it from these guys either on this podcast. I've heard this before, and I actually have a really cool story to back this too. After I mention this, mature old black bears, they're not going to leave really good, tender, yummy acorns for your bait site. By the way, they're if the hard mass crop is up, the black cherry trees are loaded with black cherries, the acorn trees are loaded with acorns, the beech nuts are loaded, and so forth and so on. If all that natural food is really dense and there's plenty of it, then our baiting season could be You know, the amount of black bear that we have visiting our beats is going to be down when the natural food is up. They're less apt to leave an acorn for to put themselves in a stressful environment, to have go through anxiety and all that. And they don't want to do that. That makes sense, right? They, like I said, they make a living on surviving. And I have a cool story to back this up. This guy I just met a few days ago, he was saying that him and his family, they had automatic feeders. They had like corn feeders, like mulchery feeders set up that you pour, you know, your bags of feed in corn and such, and they could be set on timers to go off every couple hours, 3 hours, and so forth. So they, what this guy told me, that the pigs, the wild boars and pigs and such, so forth on their farm, they would devour the corn and the feed from these feeders, these mulchery feeders and such. But when he said that he noticed one particular year, the pigs, the wild boars and pigs and stuff weren't coming to the feeder. He was dumbfounded. He didn't understand why, and he did some scouting, looking around, and research. He found that the pigs were devouring acorns. There was an acorn crop not far from the farm where he had these feeders, and they were choosing the acorns over the food that was consistently there every day. If these feeders are on like timers. These pigs know that they get conditioned, they learn through repetition that there's going to be food there every 2 hours at like 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and so forth, so on down the line. But they were avoiding the easy pickings for the natural acorns. And the black bears are no different. They're going to do the same. So, like Jason said, he doesn't have bear yet coming to his baits. He wants to switch things up, try something different. So Jason, it is possible, even with this major drought we just had. It's been a real hot August. We had like a big drought here in the last month here in Maine. And even with this drought, it's possible there's the natural feed for the bears is still dense and still up. That they're probably still fine. In my scouting and research, looking around, I did find that the black cherry trees are loaded in my hunting area. The cherries on the black cherry trees they're so there could be that the black bears are favoring the black cherry trees right now currently, since I saw the most cherries I've ever seen in black cherry trees in my life this year. So it could be that. And also, here's a really cool, interesting fact about black bears, everybody, before I go. It's been almost an hour. I'd like to probably end at about 10 o'clock, because then at that point it's my bedtime. I got to get up early to go freshen my bait. I got to get up at 4 a.m., go to freshen my baits before going to work, before working the 14-hour day. It's blueberry harvest for me right now in the state of Maine, so I need to get my shut-eye, get my rest. But before I go, I want to mention that black bears, what's really cool about black bears, they can climb trees. So the bears have an upper paw, if you will, an upper hoof and paw, upper paw on the deer. The black bears can get to the acorns long before they start falling, and the black bears, they just happen to know the best time of the year, and there's an oak tree has ripe acorns, and when they're ready to eat, and the black bear will scale and climb oak trees to get up to the acorns in the canopy of the tree, and they make an awful amount of noise. This could be a good way for you wanting to pursue the black bear without bait and trapping and hounds and such. You could just go to the mountainous areas that have black bears, and that have a lot of beech nuts and acorns, and you could just sit and listen, like you would listen for that gobbling turkey when in the spring, right? You could just sit and listen for the sound of black bears going up and down oak trees or up and down beech nut trees for the nuts. They'll break limbs and branches, and they make a ton of noise. It's loud. So it's a dead giveaway as to where a bear's whereabouts is. If you're going into to a mountain laced with oaks, that could be a good way to can do a conventional hunt on black bear, just listening for them, scaling them oak trees for those acorns they're ready to eat. They're tender, sweet. The bear know it, and they're eating the acorns long before they start dropping. And so they have an advantage in that regards to deer. They can get the acorns. They're actually one of the animals in the Maine forest that can eat acorns long before the deer and such. So forth, so on. So there's a lot of animals that eat acorns too. I mean, blue jays, turkeys, deer, bear, moose. A lot of animals rely on the acorn. So go bear. Kudos to the black bears that they can do that. So I didn't know if you guys knew that, but that is a really cool fact about black bear. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about hunting and pursuing the black bear without baiting and using dogs and traps and such. So let's see, that was the one thing I want to mention before ending. There was something else too. But see, Joe Dutill says, use anise oil to get bears in, and butterscotch, 5 times sweeter. Yeah, Joe. So Jason, if you're still with us, Joe says try using anise oil extract. Hey everybody, what I do when I open up all my bait sites, I put a couple wicks. A lot of times I'll use an old raggedy old sock, tie that up in a limb, or if I happen to have scent wicks on hand, which I do this year, I got a package of wicks. I'll just use them because they work the best out of anything. Obviously, a woman's tampon too, but don't want my wife to hear that. I steal her tampons to use as scent wicks, but a woman's tampon works great as she's listening. So, yeah. Well, I put up scent wicks, and I have a big bottle of anise extract. I'll dip each end of the wick in the anise extract and hang them up in the limbs as far as I can reach. I'll do a couple of them with anise extract. I always put some of that out in the beginning of baiting. Some of that, and I do use the butterscotch, and I use the Gold Rush. Super concentrated, a $45 bottle of Gold Rush scent by the Northwoods Bear products or something like that, and it's got the butterscotchy caramel scent flavor to it. You just need a little cap full of that and an old fryer-lated grease mixed up, splashed out all over the tree trunks and the tree. And that, so butterscotch, I use it, and I found the bear love that. They go nuts over that. I have a bear coming consistently to my bait site, and I use that, just what I just mentioned, and I have the anise oil. So the bear, whatever attracted scents I set out to use each and every year, whatever it is, I'm also using a cherry bomb. It's 100 times sweeter than sugar scent attractant. It's a powder. I sprinkle it on the food in the barrel, so it's 100 times sweeter than sugar, and it smells really good. It's the cherry smell, and that can, a lot of times when the bear eat that, they just get addicted to your bait site. They want to come back for more when they get a taste of that because it's so sweet. And when I sprinkle it out, sometimes I'm downwind of it and I get a taste of it myself. It is very sweet, and so whatever scents I'm going to use, I stick with those scents. I don't switch things up a weekend and midway in. And just before hunting, I do not switch a thing up. I stick to my pattern to a T. You want to have a baiting pattern, baiting regimen that you stick to. Don't alter in any way, shape, or form. If you're after an old mature boar, black bear, like I said, like I've been stating time and time again, they make a living on surviving, and they're not stupid. They're coming to your bait site full of anxiety and stress, and they're on high alert, nervous, on pins and needles. And if they're coming in and studying your bait site, they're figuring out every scent, every smell that you leave behind you. They're figuring out your human odor. They're learning your sounds, the sounds of your truck coming, your side-by-side, four-wheeler, dirt bike, whatever you use, bicycle, whatever you use to go to your bait site to bait. You want to use that same vehicle every time. You want to use that same path you go to and from the bait barrel every time. You want to use the same attractant scents every time. As soon as you switch things up drastically. If you don't bang, if you started out banging your bucket on the barrel 3 times every time you poured the food in the barrel. Bang 3 times every morning. Go in at the same time every morning. If it's 6 a.m., go at 6 a.m. every morning. If you go every other morning, go every other morning. Don't start going every morning if you've been going every other morning. It's changing the pattern. You could put that bear on high alert. You run the risk of turning that bear nocturnal. They'll still most likely come back to your bait eventually. But you can bet when you switch things up, change things drastically, they're going to disappear for days on end. They could disappear for a week, 2 weeks, and maybe for the entire hunting season altogether. But they eventually do come back to check things out. But it might be long after dark. It might be 10 p.m., 11, midnight, 1 in the morning. You're gonna turn them nocturnal. So you gotta think here. The title of my live stream, like it says, "What if bear could talk?" The bear, they found your bait site. They've learnt all the scents and sounds. Through repetition, because you've been going the same time every day, using the same path every day, doing the same thing every day. These bear, they have the ability. They're the smartest animal in the woods. They have the ability to rationalize, reason. They're reasoning here. The bear reasoning here that okay, humans are involved. This two-legged creature, he's putting food out for me, and they're listening for those telltale signs that you're coming back with food. Because every time they come and visit your bait site, they're getting rewarded. If you have 20 or more pounds of food for them at your bait site, they're filling their belly. They're not going far. They might only go a few hundred yards to lay up, bed up, and they're going to go for water. They're going to go drink a lot. They're going to lay up in the heat of the day, and they're going to come back to feed again. They're going to want to come back for more. If they went away full and feeling satisfied and they got what they needed for nutrition and stuff, then you can bet they're going to be back. You want to make sure there's always a reward for them, something for them to eat each and every time they come to your bait. And that's important. So yeah, so you could bet if a bear could talk here. So the bear comes, he hit pay dirt, and he's filling his belly every time he's eating at your bait, and he's going out, telling his buddies, pals, hey man, I'm living the best life, man. I don't have to exude any effort at all. I'm not expelling any energy, and not burn all my cows out. I'm building up really thick, fat reserves for the upcoming winter months for denning season. This bear, he's talking to himself, telling his friends, his buddies, I'm living the bestest life. And all of a sudden, you, the fool, haven't gone at the same time every morning, haven't baited the same. You kept your pattern the same each and every time to not put that bear on high alert. All of a sudden, you switch things up. Instead of going every other day, you come on a day that you start going like every day. Or maybe you park a little closer. Maybe you stray off your path and you make some odd, strange noise the bear hadn't heard before. Or you're using a totally different attracted scent altogether. And for one thing, if you're going on a day of the week, let's say you were going every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so when you go on a Tuesday, Thursday, go on a day of the week that you haven't gone before, and you bump that bear out of there. Ooh, that's bad. You can bet that bear is not coming back for at least a week or more. And then when he does, it might be after dark, and then you're just blowing your hunt altogether. And so you then and only then at that point in time, you want to hope that like a whole new bear, a different bear, finds your bait and maybe commits and start coming and so forth, because you can bet your buttons, man, on that particular bear that's been consistent every night that you just boogered out of there. You probably won't see him again for quite some time. Keep your camera up there. It may show back up eventually, but probably not in shooting light. And so, yeah, man, I could go on and on about all this. So Ken says, well, have a good night. Okay, yeah, thanks, Ken. Thanks for coming on. Take it easy, Ken. Joe Dutail says, use anise oil. Yeah. All right, yeah. So we've got 7 people on here. I don't know if Meg is still on here or not. But if Megan's still on here, have you ever hunted black bear, Meg? I think her and her husband said they baited black bear a couple years ago. So that, yeah, so they were trying to get their, someone a Grand Slam or something. But anyways, let's see here. So the Red Sox lost to the Orioles. I just had a notification come on and said the Orioles beat the Red Sox. Of course. I found that when the Red Sox lose, when they do lose, they've been very streaky. They'll lose like 3 or 4 in a row before they start winning again. And then they might win like 5 or 6 in a row or 10 in a row. They've been very streaky. But anyways, we're not here talking about the Red Sox. So I've gone live for over an hour. That's long enough. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions, and if all of you that stuck it out, if you learned at least one thing, I've definitely done my job correctly. So Jason says, thanks for all the tips, everyone. Good luck in the upcoming season. Happy hunting. Same to you, Jason. I wish you the best of luck. Hope you do get one, Jason. All right, Russ, thank you for joining me live this Monday. I'll be live again next Monday night. I'm live every Monday night. And it's still going to be about bear. Let's talk bear hunting tips, and maybe bear recipes and such and so forth. So anyways, have a good night, everybody. See you next Monday.